Just keep swimming, right, Noah?
Mm, what?
2003 is when Finding Nemo came out, and it's also the last time that the Browns beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh.
I was 3.
I think that open really says it all. The Browns are terrible. Thinking that they could win 5 or more games in those bets that I took earlier this year, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that they had a pretty good defense, which they do, but this team is atrocious. By the way, I gave that stat about the last time they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh, but how about the last time they won a road game? It was week 2 of last season. It's been an
Yep.
entire year without a road victory.
Yeah, and that just continues to be more and more of a detriment to one Kevin Stefanski. You're fed up with him, I'm fed up with him, and I was an apologist for a while, but there's no argument to be had for this guy at this point. The offense didn't look any different. We still haven't scored more than 17 points. We didn't even score a touchdown. You asked Dillon Gabriel to throw the ball 50 plus times.
52, I think. Yeah.
It was 52. I mean, it's asinine. It's mind-boggling the stuff that is going on with this team, and we're continuing to let it happen by keeping Stefanski here, keeping this brain trust together. It makes no sense.
52 pass attempts, and I think 4 or less 10 yards plus, by the way. This Dillon Gabriel experiment. Listen, the Browns don't exactly have much of a choice at starting quarterback. I'm not sure if prime Tom Brady would make much of a difference with this team, with these receivers, with this O line. Something's got to give. At this point, though, Noah, I don't think they care. I don't think ownership care. I think they're
Nope.
playing for their new stadium, and I
100%
really
they are.
they do not care about a winning football team. They're taking the fans' money, and they're just happy. They're content. I think Stefanski will be gone. I think the seat's too hot, and I think the calls nationally are too big. So I do think that he'll be gone, but ownership does not give a shit.
No, they don't. They only care, it seems like at least, that they only really care about what this team looks like for 2029. And while I understand in a way that thought process, because you want to be great when you're in this nice new building, you're going to lose more and more people to build up to this stadium that people aren't even going to care when you build it because of how bad the team's been and historically how bad the team's been. I know Haslam hasn't been the owner since 99. I know Andrew Barry, Kevin Stefanski, blase, blah, haven't been the coach and the GM since 99. So the history is there though. And that's the frustrating part. That's what really bothers me. And that's what's going to continue to bother fans to the point that they're not going to care about your nice new stadium in Brook Park, Jimmy, because they don't care now because there's nothing for us to freaking care about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And at what point do we just stop giving our money? Stop buying tickets, stop buying merch. I know that's hard to do, but when you and I were just in the team shop and we didn't walk out with a whole armful of stuff, but there was plenty we looked at and go, "Ooh, I want that."
Right.
But I don't know. I'm over it. I'm over this team. I put on this shirt this morning and I thought, I don't even want to wear this. Because they're such a pitiful excuse of a team. By the way, how about Miles Garrett? Where in the hell was he?
Yeah.
Because it sure feels like he's taking a paycheck and then taking some snaps off for the guy that all he cared about was winning. I call BS on that too. Like everyone's a merchant right now. Nobody cares. They've lost the locker room. We might not win another game.
Well, that's a great transition into these quotes that came out of Miles Garrett's presser. Um, Mary Kay herself asked if it's harder and harder to dig deep and keep pressing on, basically finding motivation to win games, like it was for Joe Thomas. There's that famous clip of him talking about how he got himself motivated and played so well despite being on those horrible Browns teams. All Miles did was say, yep, and ended his press conference. There was another question that was brought up. What goes on his mind when he watches Steelers pass rushers get after the quarterback with a 2-score lead? Must be nice. He is check. It sounds like he's pissed off and checked out again. And you think back to when the trade came up, the trade he wanted a
The
trade.
request, yeah.
Was it a better option, as much as it would have stung and hurt because we love Miles as Browns fans, to let him go and get the capital at this point? Because what are we doing?
Well, we re-signed him and he's under control, so that option's still open. The problem, I think, is the price tag at this point. A good fit, honestly, for him, and I don't want to go down the road of let's figure out where we trade Miles Garrett, but Dallas would be perfect. I just think Jerry Jones is too cheap to pay him. But they're primed and in position. They need defensive help to go along with an offense that looks really good and could make a push. That could be a landing spot. But at this point, if you're not taking phone calls for Miles Garrett or you're not making phone calls for Miles Garrett, then you're not doing your due diligence as a front office because it seems to me that we're in full on rebuild mode. And having a prime piece like Miles Garrett, while it's nice, I like Miles a lot as a person. It's not winning us football games. I made this argument before this season. It's not winning us football games. It's not going to win us football games. We need to rebuild, and he's a piece that we need to start with. I hate to say it, but that's just facts.
Yeah, I thought the mindset of retool made sense, but the more and more you see things go on with this team, the more and more you see what's going on with an aging roster, it's almost time to press the red button and panic. You know what I mean? Like we're getting to that point where it's clean everything up and start over.
Well,
The
think of what you
Deshaun,
need. I
yeah,
mean, you need 3 plus receivers, I would argue. You need 2 to 3 offensive linemen. You need a quarterback still. I mean, you need so much to make this a winning football team. I don't even know where you start. I mean, just get as many draft picks as you possibly can.
yeah, I don't believe in tanking, but it feels like that's what this team is at this point because what is there to salvage at 1-5? Yeah, you could make the playoffs if you go on some crazy run, but this team's not making the playoffs, so that's out of the question. You have players in the media already upset, giving lost the locker room S quotes like that Miles Garrett quote we pulled up,
Yeah.
and you don't have answers at key positions. Your defense was thought to maybe be Super Bowl caliber this year. They've been shaky the last 2 weeks. What is there? What is there to salvage from this season? Because you lost the locker room. It feels like it feels like there's not much positive, especially on the offensive side of the ball, going on right now. I mean, what is there? There's nothing.
Nothing. Literally nothing. Uh, I mean, I can't even come up with a reasonable take for you because there is nothing. There's nothing to salvage here. Blow it up, start over, new coach, new system, uh, arguably new quarterback. I don't know who that guy's going to be. I really want to see Shador Sanders start games too. At this point, why not? And that's not a throw him to the wolves kind of thing because I don't think a bad performance would be indicative of him either because this team's so bad. But let him go and get some real reps because and again, play calling was atrocious. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that for a second. Kevin Stefanski, a guy that supposedly is fighting for his job, it feels like he's checked out too. And maybe I'm wrong here, but maybe the writing is just on the wall and he realizes, hey, I'm just playing. I don't know. I'm going to get that payout at the end of the season, but I won't be here because it sure feels like he's not trying to win football games either.
Yeah, and it's the same quotes in the media of we have to do better. The famous one, the one that was hilarious from yesterday was you can't start winning games till you stop losing them. Thanks, Kevin. That was really intuitive. We really needed that quote. I want to
Well,
get
I
into
mean,
a little go ahead.
I think he's referring there to beating yourself, meaning the penalties and the drop passes. Uh, ha- I get it. Media really ran with that quote because it seems so stupid, but I think he's referring to the fact that we beat ourselves along with the
Yeah.
opponents beating us, and he's not wrong there. It didn't come up out well for him. But what he's essentially saying is it's my fault because that starts and ends with coaching. Penalties start and end with coaching. He can't go out and catch the balls. Jerry Judy, I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. Um, but everything else falls on his shoulders. And to continually say, we need to do better, I need to do better, take the blame, but you're not doing better and you're not changing anything either. You're expecting the same result. We talked about insanity for weeks now. You're
Yeah.
expecting the same results or different results rather, doing the same thing. At what point do you just like get really creative? And how many times yesterday was it 2nd and 10 and we ran the ball for nothing and then it was 3rd and 10? Like
Yeah.
I was screaming at the TV like, "Great play call, Kevin. Like it's really going to fool him this time." Like what are you doing?
And it's frustrating too when you have what looks like an explosive playmaker. He's been awesome year in and year or week in and week out, not year in and year out. He's only played 3 games, 4 games in Quinshawn Judkins, and he had the same rep split as Jerome Ford. And Dylan Sampson had 18% of the carries. And I'm fine with giving Dylan Sampson some reps because I think he should be above Ford. I don't see Ford being the second back and that making sense for this Browns team. It makes no sense. I
No,
want
it
to get
doesn't.
into the game itself a little bit because there is one silver lining, in my opinion, and then I want to ask your opinion on something else.
Okay.
Andre Schmidt at least kind of proved himself. He went 3 for 3. He had a 53-yard field goal. He looked pretty solid. I'll give him credit. I think that's progressing nicely after what was a rough first week in Cleveland.
He is turning out to be an excellent kicker for us, and I hope he has staying power because he's got a leg. He kicks the hell out of the ball. At one point I remember saying like, I hope we don't gain any more yards because I want to see him attempt like a 65 yarder because I think he actually has the leg to make that. Yeah, he looks good. He's one of the lone bright spots. And just returning real quick to the running back split, I agree with what you're saying. But Pittsburgh has realized, and what every defensive coordinator will continue to realize, is that if you stop the run and you just stack the box, we can't throw the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think we average 2.3 yards per carry, something around that.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't matter who's running the football at that point. I don't think there's gonna be much of a difference.
Yeah, I get it, but I just want to see more of Judkins, man. Like I don't get what our obsession is with Jerome Ford. That's what bothers me. But I agree with you. You're completely right because if you stop the run of this Browns team, the game's over. I mean, they can't score
Yeah.
20 points as it is, let alone if you stop the run. We couldn't even get into the end zone yesterday.
Yeah, the Ford reliance on Ford like that, I don't get it. And I've preached for a while that whole split. It doesn't. You're absolutely right. It makes zero sense. And I don't understand why we're not handing the ball off to our two rookies more, who I think have proven themselves to deserve it.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of rookies, I want to move over to Dillon Gabriel. Obviously, we talked about the fact that he threw the ball 52 times. He went 29 for 52,
Yeah.
221 yards, no touchdowns, was sacked 6 times. 4 of those sacks were, of course, on the offensive lineman. 2 they credited as Dillon's own fault. What did you think of Dillon's second performance? Because I was very fiery on X while I was sipping a couple Miller Lights and talking a little bit of crap. And I want to rescind that, but I also have some critiques. What do you think about Dillon, though?
Uh, I think that in the NFL for years, the prototypical quarterback was that 6'5", can stand in and be a pocket passer. And we've kind of moved away from that. Athletic ability is the most important thing, one would argue, right? But I think we saw yesterday why that's maybe not the case. And that is, he couldn't see over his O line for some of those passes. There should have been a couple more picks than he had. Uh, he doesn't look very good. He threw some accurate balls. Don't get me wrong. His receivers certainly weren't helping him out. Um, and play calling hampered him too. So it's hard to get a gauge on where he's at because I think he had good moments. I think he had bad moments. Is he a guy that's going to lead us to the playoffs? No. But it's really hard to gauge with the rest of the team around him really just falling apart and putting the ball into his hands 52 times. The most interesting thing for me was when he got hit and he kind of went after the player, if you
And he
remember that
threw the
clip.
punch. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, he was like he held himself back, actually. He realized what he was doing. I think that was born out of 2 things. One, I think he was a little upset that, it was a low hit,
Yeah.
and, obviously that could be a career ender, but I think he was frustrated too. He was forced to go out there and throw so much, and nothing was working. And I think that was born out of frustration, and I can't really blame him, honestly.
No, I can't blame him either. And honestly, I'm fine with it as, immature as it might seem. At least it's showing some damn grit because this team
Yeah,
hasn't
some
shown a lot
fire.
of grit, a little fiery, a little, snippy. I'm fine with that. Um, Listen, yesterday I put out a tweet that said Dillon Gabriel isn't an NFL QB after he had a streak of batted passes and getting sacked on his own and blah, 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 blah. I do think Dillon Gabriel's an NFL QB, but I think he, at this point, through 2 games, and this can change, this can go drastically up or drastically down, but through 2 games, he has proven to be exactly what you and I thought he was going to be, a fantastic backup,
Yeah.
a Colt McCoy. And that's what I've
Yeah,
seen out of him so far.
yeah, I think you're right there. And it's still early. He's a young quarterback that frankly shouldn't be playing meaningful minutes right now. So again, hard to gauge. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there. I am curious. I want to turn to the other side of the ball real quick,
Yeah.
talking about new people, because I'm curious what you thought of Tyson Campbell. He made his debut. He had some bright moments. He had some bad. Listen, you're brand new. You flew into the facility, I think, on like Wednesday or Thursday,
Yeah.
and you have to go against DK Metcalf. Not exactly an easy assignment for a guy to come over. And cover a guy like that. But I thought he had some bright spots. I thought he looked okay.
Yeah, he was fine. They were obviously picking on him as they should have.
Yeah.
That was smart game call. That was smart game planning. He only had 2 practices in a new system, so of course he should be the one to be picked on the most. That's easy 1, 2, 3 elementary math, in my opinion. He's okay. I think he's gonna be okay. Obviously, it was a rough up and down kind of outing for him, but it's exactly what I expected. I don't have any hesitations or reservations or big observations on him yet. That rhymed. That was good. Um, because of how quick his turnaround was. It's going to be a multi-week thing for me to realize and decide if he's an upgrade, a wash, a downgrade from one Greg Newsome. What did you think
Yeah.
about him? You thought he was pretty solid, right?
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, he was in there on a lot of plays. The thing about Tyson Campbell is that where he's going to fail for you is he's not a jump ball kind of guy.
No.
So if and again, he's going against DK Metcalf. So if the ball's in the air and it's a jump ball situation, he's not coming out on top of those situations. And Jaguars fans have talked about that. That's just not the strength of his game. But I thought for the most part, he hung with and shut down Metcalf fairly well. Like that one play along the sideline that was really the key of the first half for Pittsburgh because there really wasn't a lot of offense for either team. He covered him really well, and it was a freak kind of play that he made that reception. So I thought he did a decent job. I also thought that Harold Fannin Jr. was a bright spot. He had that big miss, I know,
Yeah.
but he had a lot of receptions. He had 81 yards on 7 receptions. He looked good, whereas Njoku did not. He's another
And
guy that trade
and he got potentially hurt as well. It's a knee that
thigh
happened during
issue.
the game.
Yeah.
They said it was a knee after the game.
Oh,
They
was
said
it?
it was a
Okay.
thigh during it. Stefanski clarified it as a knee after the game.
Interesting.
Um, it'll be interesting. There's a lot of rumors out there right now about the Browns going to be heavy in the trade market and whatnot, and see what pieces stay, what pieces go,
Yeah.
how far into the we're just tearing this thing down we're really going to go. Because it's 1-5. It is rough. I know we thought the first 6 games was a rough stretch and we could, clean it up, but it's 1-5. You had some winnable games, and there's a lot more context now with this team of bad play calling, of not being able to score the football, of X, Y, and Z. That it's fine. What are you supposed to do at this point?
Yeah, I do want to talk real quick AFC North.
Yeah.
Because is it Pittsburgh's to lose at this point? I
Yeah.
mean,
I
they
mean,
look pretty good.
yeah, with the injuries in Cincinnati, the injuries in Baltimore, we're not a factor in this at all. So yeah, it is. Somehow, some way, the toughest division in football became one of the easier divisions in football, and that's no knock to Pittsburgh. I know we like to shit on Pittsburgh because we're not Pittsburgh fans. It's a rivalry, whatever. Um, But they've got it in the bag right now because Lamar's hurt. They got it in the bag right now because Joe Burrow's hurt, and they have Zach Taylor as a I mean, there's so much going in their favor. I think so, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, their defense looked good yesterday, and I don't know if that's to something to write home about. You're playing the Browns.
Right.
Offensively, they look okay. The Ravens have been weird too, in that they weren't very good prior to that Lamar injury. They've been getting beat. They put up a hell of a game against the Bills, probably the best game of the year so far, and then they just, after that loss, they just continued to tumble. Um, Maybe head coaching spot open, because I would love to take Harbaugh if somehow he leaves
Right.
the Ravens. But yeah, it's what's crazy to me though, and we talk about this, is that once again, Pittsburgh's a team after Ben Roethlisberger retired. I thought, okay, finally, you're gonna understand the hell that Browns fans have gone through. It's not easy to get a quarterback, and yet they continue to just retool in a way that, yes, they made some transactions, they have some names, but it's not a crazy team, and yet they continue to perform.
It's and you know what's the frustrating thing? It feels like for us, the only answer to get a quarterback is to tank and lose and blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, that's what we think we need to do. Whereas Pittsburgh is trying to figure out their quarterback system and are just plugging and playing some veteran guys for the time being. Oh, and still winning 10 plus games whilst trying
Exactly.
to figure out what they need to do for long term future stability. It's mind-boggling. It's the same old story. It's the same old song and dance that we've been doing since 1999, and some sort of change needs to happen. Between
Well,
fan outrage, media outrage, whatever it is, we need to see something change, and not by 2029, now.
in my opinion, it's because they're a well-coached football team. They're not crazy offensively. Their defenses have been good, but what matters then between those two things is coaching, and I think they've been well coached. I know you're not a Tomlin guy, but what else can you point to at this point of why these mediocre teams perform above the standard? I mean, they're a continual playoff team, whereas we've made the playoffs 3 times since
Yeah.
'99. I
No,
I
I
mean,
get
I
it.
think the results speak for themselves at this point, and or itself. And I can't be more on the fire Kevin Stefanski train. I even said a couple weeks ago, I worry saying that because what comes next? Statistically, teams don't do better once they fire their coach. I can't think that we get much worse, though.
No, and that's the funny thing, like, I was very much in the realm the more that this goes on, I was very much in the realm of let it play out for the season. But as we continue to lose and look the way we do and have the same answers every week and have the same issues every week, it's abundantly clear that maybe keeping him even the whole season is going to be too much. Maybe it's time to give it to Schwartz, hand Schwartz the keys now, because what's it gonna hurt at this point?
Yeah, what if you do that? You hand it over to an interim like Schwartz, and then you let Tommy Reese free because obviously Schwartz isn't going to be calling plays on offense, and they score 20 plus points. I
Right.
mean, it can't hurt at this point because we're going backwards as a team, and that's the real shame here, is that we had a couple years, and say what you will, it was Baker, it was the decision to bring in Deshaun Watson. Obviously that has hurt this team, and some will say rightly so. You brought in accused sex offender, this is what you get kind of thing. But we've been trending downward ever since. We got lucky to get a stretch out of Joe Flacco and make the playoffs. Let's call it what it is. That was
Yeah.
a lucky season, an aberration, if you will. And now we continue to trend downward. I was a guy, and I am a guy somewhat that defends Andrew Barry because I think he's a very smart individual. But at this point, I don't know. It's almost time to just clean house.
Yeah, there's a famous, I believe it was Zach Jackson, one of them, I forget. Jason Lloyd maybe was talking about how when what's his name? Daniels, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, Josh
Josh
McDaniels, right?
McDaniels, yeah.
came in for his interview and he said, I will gladly take this job. I grew up in the area, blah, 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 but we need to clean house from the janitor up to the GM. And Haslam didn't want to do that. And I don't think that, first of all, I don't know if I think McDaniels would be a great head coach, but I think he was right in that thought process that there's got to be a complete shift at some point with this team that we need to just start
Yeah,
completely over.
I don't like giving all the power to a single individual, but you almost see why Bill Belichick's way prospered in New England.
Yeah.
Granted, he had one Tom Brady, and that helps a lot. But everything ran through him. He was coach slash GM, and I think it worked for a reason. Now, I'm not saying we should do that in Cleveland because I don't think we should, but I don't know. Maybe it's time to dust off the Nick Saban NFL coaching. It didn't work out in Miami, but at this point, like, are you not looking at everything and everyone and saying we need to find our guy? Because if you can start, everything starts with the top. And I know we need players, but when you have people bought in, even this team right now, if they're more bought into a head coach and a philosophy and a system, I guarantee they're performing better than they are right now.
Yeah.
So when you start at the top and you find that guy, I mean, you've got to get those people in place because right now, if you continue the way you're going, not only are we not going to have a winning season till 2029, uh, we're not going to sniff the playoffs. We've talked about it. This is a Browns town. We've talked about it with the Guardians. You're fighting apathy. You're fighting fan disengagement. Um, because we've been putting up with this, and yeah, we've stuck around, but I'm pissed off. We just talked about we're doing a live show from Muni for this week's game, and I just said I don't really want to do that, not because of the show, because I don't want to trundle down there and support them in the hassle of doing it all.
Yeah, no, and that's a completely fair thought process. I think a lot of fans feel that way. I haven't looked at ticket prices, but I can't imagine they've gotten any more expensive than like the $50 average I saw last time I looked in terms
I
of
wouldn't
all the
spend
games.
that.
Right. It's frustrating. It's the same stuff that we've dealt with for years upon years, and we need some sort of change. I don't know if saying Jimmy sell the team is where we're at because at least he spends money, but we
Right.
need to move and change something. Something needs to give. And you mentioned the Muni Lot show, so I'm going to plug what we got going on real quick. So this weekend, Sunday, we are live from Muni Lot. We will have graphics and stuff posted here soon. We're finalizing some dates after the Muni Lot show. So we're going back on the road again. We're going to be doing some live pregame shows yet again. And of course, that comes with one giveaway. We are giving away a Browns or Cavs jersey. You pick the player, we ship it to your door. And all you got to do is leave a comment on a recent video and subscribe to At the Office on YouTube. So if you haven't done that already, might as well, because we're giving away some more free merch for you to support, unfortunately, a Cleveland sports team.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's right. By the way, you talked about moving on from a head coach. I don't think it was easy. I'm just turning to college now for a quick second. Penn State fired James Franklin. Uh, by the way, I told you so for the last 5 years. Um, but they fired James Franklin, owing him, like $50 million to do so. I don't think that was an easy decision for them. And yet that team is not where they need to be, where they should be, etc. It's no different. Like you
Yeah.
have to, no matter how bad it hurts, you've got to do this.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. A lot of people were expecting, hoping, praying that we would get an announcement at today during the recording of this video. This is going to come out right after. So today, Monday, October 13th, we're thinking maybe we'd get an announcement because of how bad it was. And of course, the history with the Steelers and losing the Steelers and then coaches getting fired. I don't think that's going to happen yet. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you stand in that conversation. But the seat's hot, man. The seat is real hot.
It is indeed. Well, that's it for today. The debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.